Kirsten is from Shopify, and she's going to present about deconstructing the monolith, designing software that maximizes developer productivity. You can follow her at KMK, Westeinde, which is her second name.
Don't worry.
And she knows how to pronounce it. So, Kirsten is a technology enthusiast and lifelong learner. She's a senior software engineer at Shopify, where she solves challenging development problems every day. She has worked with Ruby on Rails for 5 years plus, and is constantly adding new tools to our technology tool belt. She's passionate about building diverse teams and gaining new perspective through travel and cross-cultural communications. When she's not working, you will most likely find her out exploring in nature. Kirsten. So welcome, Kirsten, once more.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just want to start with a huge caveat, which is that I'm a huge procrastinator, and I was planning on finishing this talk and practicing it yesterday, but my computer was stolen, so it's not going to be as smooth as I had hoped, but we're still going to do it. Yeah, so as he mentioned, I work at Shopify. We are one of the largest Ruby on Rails applications running. We've been involved in the development of Rails since the very beginning. We contribute a lot to open source and also entrepreneurship. Our customers are entrepreneurs, and our goal is to make it more accessible and easy to be able to start a business. And we try and use our economies of scale, basically, to get smaller merchants access to the same features as these like massive brands would have. We also have a different type of entrepreneurs, which are our Shopify partners. So these are people who either build commerce stores for their clients, or develop apps on our system, or develop themes. And I think I've spoken to a couple of you who actually develop on Shopify, which is awesome. There's a lot of opportunity there. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about deconstructing the monolith, designing software that maximizes developer productivity. So we got a really great introduction into kind of what monoliths are and one possible solution yesterday by Yatish. So I'm going to keep digging into this topic. Shopify is now a public company, and so my PR team would not allow me to share all of the stats that we got to hear yesterday. But let's just say it is massive and operating at a really, really, really large scale. And it also has a ton of functionality that, for now, a lot of it is living in the same code base. So, so specifically the Shopify core, which is what we call the code that actually runs the Shopify platform, so like the core functionalities like orders and checkout and all that, that lives in a code base called Shopify core. And that is a monolith, but we also build a lot of other services, and each team basically has the freedom to choose how they want to build it. So you'll find examples on all ends of the spectrum, from whether it's microservices to small apps with just one responsibility, to these kind of larger monoliths. And I've been with the company for almost 4 years, and I've actually worked on pretty much all ends of the system. I've worked in Shopify core, and then I actually worked on a project that was extracting a piece of functionality that historically lived in core out into its own service. And now I'm working on a project that is made up of about 10 independently deployed microservices. So just first to like kind of put into perspective what I'm talking about. Microservices occur when there's a high number of deployment units, but also a high amount of modularity. So that means clearly defined boundaries between each service. So you can deploy a bunch of things and like think that you're doing microservices, but if the boundaries are not enforced, then you just have a distributed big ball of mud. And similarly, the bottom left corner is kind of what we talk about when we say monoliths. All the code lives in one place, but there's also no boundaries between them. Whereas you can have a modular monolith, which is like what I'm calling it here, where there are well-defined boundaries between the services, but it still lives in one place. So yeah, I want to just use our time together today to go over in a bit more depth the definitions, and then analyze the pros and cons. These are just like from my brain, so I'm sure there's other pros and cons as well. And then I'm going to introduce a third option, and it's actually a different option than what was discussed yesterday. So there are different solutions depending on what your problems are. But I think this one is pretty interesting. And then I'm going to try and conclude by saying, like, is there a right choice? I will tell you right off the bat, there is no like one-size-fits-all right choice. I think there might be a right choice like